Yo, guys, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another Booty Boy Wrestling fan interview. Today, I'm joined by my very special guest. The first time in a long time I've done one of these. He's locked in his dungeon right now. Perry Von Vicious. How are you doing today?
I'm doing all right. The dungeon's treating me well.
How old is that dungeon? It looks like it's pretty run down.
I don't know. I definitely it's definitely been around longer than I've been here, so it's hard to date it really.
Are you living like a caveman, kinda like free, no laws, no rules?
I mean, it's what are laws and rules, right? It's really up to you.
So how have you been doing during this COVID-19? Are you healthy? You safe? All that?
Yeah, I'm good. My non-wrestling job, the old shoot job, really quickly moved to work from home, and so I haven't no being laid off, no furloughs, anything like that. Just working like normal, just from the office in the house, and it did mean that I couldn't use the gym at my work anymore. So I had to slowly construct my basement gym that I'm on at most days on Instagram. I post something from that. But yeah,
Uh,
otherwise all good. Yeah.
Now, you have been getting jacked. I mean, you do the flex and scream thing every day. Today was heavyweight. I didn't see no flex and scream, but that was the headline.
Well, it was leg day, and at 6'3", I have very lanky legs, and it's very hard to get a flex on them that's anything worth sharing. So on leg days, I try to come up with something else to post.
What is exactly in your home gym basement?
So it's within eyesight of me, but not of you, because this background's going to stay no matter what I do. Um, I've got a rack that I built that holds all of my resistance bands and some support, some wrist supports. I had a little bit of a nagging wrist injury, which with any kind of bench press or shoulder press, that can really be a problem. I have a weight bench that is, if I'm perfectly honest, a real piece of junk. But after it started failing on me, after welds started breaking because apparently it wasn't strong enough to hold the weight I was lifting, Iron Rip Bison was kind enough to take it from me for an afternoon and weld it. He's a welder, and he did a great job. So now it holds whatever I need. I've got a straight bar, an easy curl, a whole pile of plates, all of which were free. Stuff that I found on Craigslist or family had. I built a weight tree to hold all the plates so they're not just piled up on the floor down here anymore. I have gymnastics rings bolted into the frame of the house here. They're rated to hold 1,500 pounds, and since it's just me being lifted on it, I think I'll be okay. And then I just have one of those kind of crappy Amazon pull-up bars that's sitting in a door frame down here. And yeah,
Interesting.
that's all it's taken. If you're creative and if you work with what you have, you can make it happen.
You know, one thing that I really paid attention to, and that nice answer that you gave is free. Good for you, man. That's really nice. My mom, who bought most of the workout equipment, is in debt. Just kidding, but lucky you. Good for you.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's a side effect of I lived in California for a few years, and when my wife and I were out there, we didn't know anybody, and I was right out of college when there was that recession that occurred right at the tail end of George W. Bush's time, so I kind of came right out of college into like a really tough time to get work. So we often had very little money. So I got real good at pinching pennies and making it work. When I was out there, I used to be very heavy. Not everyone knows that. I used to be 300 pounds,
Wow.
and I did not wear it well. Um, and I did a huge weight loss out there. I lost 110 pounds in 10 months while I was
Wow.
in California, and I did it all. The only equipment I had was a pair of running shoes and a yoga mat. and I just made it work. If I had to take like Nalgene water bottles and fill them with water to use as weights, I
Mhm.
did. For a time, I had a job. I was working in a state park, and every day on my lunch break, I wanted to lift, but I didn't have any weights. But they had those the giant 5 gallon water things that like at the office water cooler that you would have. And
Mhm.
so they had a few spare ones. So I just took them, screwed the caps on, filled them up with water, brought them out to a picnic table that no one ever used. And I'd go out there, I'd be using them for shrugs and I'd be doing overhead presses with them. Always kind of wondering what the campers wandering by thought was happening.
Wow, very interesting stuff that I'm learning. Now, like you, oh, wow, I never knew you were 300 pounds. I'd never seen it in past pictures.
Yeah,
But
I'll shoot you the before and after. It's my party trick showing it to people. When I started wrestling, I was 300 pounds. I dropped down to 185 at one point was the lightest I got, which was definitely a little too thin with my frame. And then now I started trying to put muscle back on top of it. So now I'm about 235 and trying to wear it a bit better.
now, one thing that I said to you at the beginning was like I started watching your career back in Pioneer Valley
Mhm.
when you were like the $1 million man. What went into that character? Where did that come from?
So I did that character for 9 years. I started that character in January 2008 at my debut match. That was the character I started with, and I ran with it until just a couple of years ago. Um, and it honestly was just as simple as I needed a persona. You know,
Hmm.
I was training. Uh, I wanted to be a masked comedy wrestler of all things. And my trainer said, you don't want to do that. No one will ever take you seriously. Find something else. And so someone saw me. I had a sales job at the time, long hair and a ponytail, and I'd come into wrestling practice in a full suit, and then I'd get changed into workout gear. Um, and I guess that image of me in a suit with my hair slicked back real neat really stuck with the other kids in my class. And they started telling me, like, yeah, you should do a rich snob gimmick. Totally, you should do it. So I started bouncing some ideas for names, and I knew it was going to be Perry something, Perry Vaughn something, Perry Van something. I wasn't sure. And then Johnny Torres, who is a big name out in this area, and he's
Hmm.
a legend up in Maine, and a very good friend. He was in that class with me. We were of the same graduating class from that school. He very sort of mockingly says, "You should be Perry Von Vicious," and started laughing. And I looked at him all wide-eyed, and I was like, "Oh, that's so much better than anything I thought of." And so I took it, and it's just been the name ever since. And the character came together very quickly. I just said, I want to come out in a full suit. I want it all to be tearaway. And, at the time being kind of heavy, and I don't tan easily. I'm Irish and Polish. I don't tan. I burn and peel. Uh, so so I just had this printer paper complexion skin that was just horrific to look at. So the moment when I would tear those Velcro pants off, just instant chorus of boos from any audience. It was so easy. And I stuck with, even when I lost the weight and I started to fake tan, I still stuck with the gimmick. Right up until I realized, and I guess it was actually probably closer to 11 years that I did that gimmick. I realized I'd been doing it for a little over a decade, and I was still doing all the same indie shows. So
Huh.
maybe it was time to switch it up and try something a little different. I was already wrestling a very different style than that character really wants. That Ted DiBiase type character really wants a begging off heel, a cowardly, almost comedic character. And I had started doing, topes over the top rope and moonsaults and power bombs and things, and that it just wasn't. It didn't fit the same way. So I, started to evolve the character a bit.
And now you go by the Uncle Sid Vicious, something like
Uh, I,
that.
I'm Uncle Sid's favorite nephew,
Oh.
Perry Von Vicious, and obviously a nod to Sid Vicious, Psycho Sid, of
Mhm.
of WWE and WCW fame, and having in truth be told, never actually met him in person. Just started throwing it out there because it was a funny joke that people seemed to get. And a while back, when he was still active on Twitter, this was probably 5-6 years ago, people had joked with me like, "Oh, are you related to Sid Vicious?" It was like people were just messing with me long before this character. So I would just randomly tweet stuff at him, and I'd be like, "Isn't that right, Uncle Sid?" And I'd tag him, and he got into it. He'd respond with a little fist bump emoji, and he'd say, "You tell him, nephew." He was like in on it for a little while. We never met. I never asked him if it was okay to use Uncle Sid's favorite nephew. I just started doing it. I can't imagine he could care less.
Yeah. I mean, he's a busy guy. I don't know what he's doing now, but
I mean, if his past career is any indication, he's probably playing softball in a small town.
nice. So, Uncle Sid's favorite nephew. Do you hope that maybe one day he'll manage you and like he'll be in your corner for a match?
Honestly, what I would prefer to have happen would be for him to come out and seemingly have my back in some situation, and then just give me a power bomb. That's the dream. To take a power bomb from Uncle Sid, that'd be great. And I mean, yeah, it was only a couple of years ago that he was on Raw. He came out and he had a one-off match with Heath Slater and gave him the power bomb. So he could still do it.
That was back in 2012, man.
Yeah, that's not that long ago. I mean, bear in mind, 2012 to me, not that long ago. I'm old.
You just had a birthday too, so
I did.
Happy
yeah.
birthday! Happy belated birthday!
Older all the time. Thank you.
Now, damn, I had a question and then I forgot it because of the powerbomb thing. Oh, it was a good one too. If it comes back, I'll say it.
Oh yeah.
So you had a long time rivalry with former, just like kind of like you switched your gimmick around. Tomahawk, now Rip Bison, who pretty much abandoned me on his interview. Never heard a response ever again. So you're the better half of that tag team. Just putting you over. You guys are now a tag team. What went into making that thing?
So it was actually something we came up with on a car ride. We both live out here in Western Mass, and there weren't a lot of Western Mass guys that were really trying to go further away. We prefer to wrestle as far away as possible. The shows around here will always be here, but going out and doing other stuff, that's more exciting. You get different types of opponents, different audiences. It's better exposure. It's something that I was always taught is, get out, don't stay in one spot. And so he was really into that. So as soon as I moved back from California, I mean, within a couple months, we were just in the car together all the time, going all over the place. I mean, we've been in cars together all the way to, we've gone to New Orleans, we've gone to Texas, we've gone to Nova Scotia, Chicago, pretty much all of the East Coast. We've been everywhere. I've spent more time in cars with him than I care to think about. And, we had this rivalry going pretty much everywhere we went. I mean, there was a year, I think I counted it up, where we had like 40 singles matches against each other in one year in like 3 different time zones and in 2 different countries. And then if we counted in like triple threats and tag matches that we were both involved in, it jumped to like 50 matches or something like that. We were just always in the ring with each other. And we kind of got bored of wrestling each other. So one ride home from a show, I was just telling, I was like, what if we just started being a tag team, but maybe we don't really like each other that much. We're just stuck together. And the idea for the name was really the important part. We call ourselves MAD, Mutually Assured Destruction, which is if it's a phrase in war terminology for when 2 countries have the exact same nuclear power. And they know that if I shoot a nuke at them, they're going to shoot one at me. We'll both be dead. So I'm not going to do it. And that's the same reason they don't do it. We both hold off because we know that we could destroy each other. And that was the concept for us was, yeah, we've fought so many times that we know what the other's capable of. So why not team together? And, he's a big, strong dude.
Hmm.
And a lot of, especially the local indies, a lot of them, not everyone, but a lot of them are smaller guys. So when the two of us are a team together, I mean, we can get as creative as we want. We can throw anybody any direction we please, and very little they can do to stop us.
Two things. One, I've only seen one match of Team Mad, and it was against the Shook Crew back at Blitzkrieg back in November. And I laughed a lot because it was Bryce Donovan and Kirby Wackerman filling in for Max Caster. And I remember they told Kirby to like stand still, and then there's Tom just telling him to move. And I would laugh so hard, and you're just standing there like, that match was so great and so funny. It was really good.
Yeah, those guys are a lot of fun. The Shook Crew in general are so creative and so interesting, and they're always doing different stuff. But Kirby Wackerman, man, what a character! What a guy! Like, just I've been on so many different shows, different places with him, and every time I'm just so happy to see him come in a locker room.
The other thing that I now remember, what I was going to say when we were on the Sid Vicious thing, he can come out and be like, "You forgot to wash your plate at Thanksgiving last year," and then he power bombs you. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah. we had a family reunion and you were late. Power bomb.
Yeah, and then never see him again.
Good stuff. Yeah.
Let's see. So, what is pretty much on the schedule for Perry Von Vicious or even Team Mad? You guys booked for anything upcoming?
I mean, right now it's it's an easy question to answer. No, not really anything going on, and for good reason. I think this is a pretty dangerous time to go out and do something that involves close contact with people, especially wrestling, or for that matter, being in an audience for wrestling. And I love wrestling. I've been doing it for 13 years now. For the last half decade, I've been doing it several times every single weekend. Mm-hmm. So it's been a huge adjustment for me to not have that to do. But as much as it's important to me, like, grand scheme of things, I think professional wrestling's not really important enough for people to be risking, prolonging a global pandemic.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with having some time to sit out for a bit. I don't think it's going to hurt me at all, and certainly it's only helpful worldwide to take a little break.
Now, you might hate me for this next question, but I gotta ask it, and I just don't know who this band is. Who are the Aquabats?
Oh man, okay. So I love novelty bands. Novelty music, comedy music is like one of my longest obsessions in life. Weird Al Yankovic is my favorite artist of all time. I've seen him probably 15, 16 times live. The first instrument I learned was the accordion because of Weird Al. It's a big thing for me. But when I was in high school, I joined a punk band because there weren't a lot of people trying to make a polka parody band. So punk it was. And alongside punk comes the genre of ska, which is more or less a faster version of reggae with horns. Third wave ska, which came around the late 90s, mixes in a lot of what we would call pop punk, right? Mm-hmm. The Aquabats are that genre, but they are a gimmick band. They are superheroes, a band of heroes called the Aquabats. They have a set costume that they all wear, and many fans, including myself at shows, wear that same costume. And they actually had a number of TV shows not long ago. If you're familiar with the show Yo Gabba Gabba, they created that show. And they also had a show called the Aquabats Super Show that was a relative success. It ran 2 seasons. That's better than a lot of shows do. And it's exactly what you would think it is. It's sort of like the '60s Batman show, where it's this goofy costume crime fighting thing. Um, but they are a fantastic, excuse me, a fantastic band. Musically, they're just very great. But I also love that they're this weird like Southern California throwback sci-fi thing going on with them. So they've been in my Instagram stories a lot lately as a result. But there's so many other bands that could fall into a similar category. The Phenomenauts are a very similar idea. They're a very space centric band. When they tour, they have a camper van that they have decked out with pieces to look like a spaceship and painted the whole thing silver.
Wow.
I actually when I had my punk band way back when you were just a tiny little child, um, I opened for the Aquabats, and we opened for the Phenomenauts a few times, and yeah, just there's so many great bands like that are just, it's a whole world that I'm obsessed with. Bands like Steam Powered Giraffe or The Residents are a whole thing. The Residents is a real deep dive. They have over 90 albums or something like that. They have full length motion pictures that they've made, and no one knows who any of the band members are. They've never shown their faces or said their names. They are an anonymous band. I love that so much.
What do you have to say to the people that are watching this interview and have no idea what we're talking about, or have no
I
idea
mean,
what you're talking about?
oh, so everyone. I mean, I would say like music doesn't have to be a serious project all the time. But to me, like professional wrestling, right? There's people who like the straight up wrestler who comes out in trunks and does a bunch of fancy wrestling. And then there's people who like Doink the Clown or The Undertaker or, in a more modern version, Fiend Bray Wyatt. I
Mm-hmm.
love characters and strong personalities and weird costumes. To me, if a band plays a show and they don't have costumes or props at all, it kind of feels like they're not trying.
Who would win in a match, the Wiggles or the Aquabats?
Oh, I mean the Aquabats far and away. I mean they have very pro wrestling type fights on stage every show. They have villains that come out that they battle on stage.
I'm
They
gonna have
have
to look this up.
there's an alternate band that I believe is actually just them in different costumes, called the Sand Fleas, who are their arch enemies. They released an album as the Sand Fleas, and it's all songs about how much they hate the Aquabats.
Wow, the stuff that you learned from Perry Von Vicious.
Yeah, I'm a guy with very strange, weird niche interests. So
Um, now, So, a friend of mine, he's in a group called the Fan Roundtable. His name is Eric Hunting. He wanted me to ask you. I know you know who he is because he
yeah,
told me.
yeah.
Um, he wanted me to ask about your chickens. What chickens?
Oh yeah,
You have I know I've seen them on your story.
right. My wife and I bought a house about a year and a half ago. Our first like home that we've owned. And we bought it specifically because we wanted to do a little bit of homesteading. It's just something we always kind of wanted to do. So we have a big garden, and this is the side of Perry Von Vicious no one imagines. The side where I have a bunch of squash plants and green bean plants, and I'm eating vegetables I pull from my garden, and then I built as soon as quarantine happened, the second like we were done with snow, I started building a chicken coop in the backyard. And once it was done, we quickly discovered that everyone else had the same idea, pretty much nationwide. Like the number of backyard chickens like quintupled after quarantine started. It was crazy. So there was no local place that had any chicks that we could buy. So we had to go through an online hatchery, and we got 3 chickens, and they they don't have a great mortality rate. So we were like, we'll see how they do. And yeah, all 3 of them now went from being itty bitty little things that fit in my hand to now these great big huge chickens, and in a couple months I'll start having eggs from them, which is good because I eat a ton of eggs.
Now, I just came up with this question on the spot. To ever switch away from the basement workouts, are you ever gonna have like a chicken fight like boxers do? You run around your chicken coop and chasing it.
So the main problem with that is, again, I'm 6'3". I built the chicken coop knowing that my wife would want to hang out in there a lot with them. She's a real animal lover, so she's in there constantly hanging with the chicken. They come running to her and jump up in her lap. They're more friendly than our cats are, and so it's built to her height, but she is a little over a foot shorter than me. I mean, she's like 5'1". So being built to her height, when I have to go in and clean the coop out, or I go in and hang out with the chickens, I'm very hunched over the whole time, and even then I still whack my head once in a while. So I feel like I'd have a rough time doing the Rocky Balboa chase the chicken thing. I'd try to simulate it with the cats, but they're fat and slow. It wouldn't be too hard to catch them. I love my cats very much, but they are not what I would call athletes.
Yeah, they seem very happy every time you take a picture of them every day.
Yeah, they cope with me taking pictures.
Now you have a YouTube channel, Perry Von Vicious. You also have a vlog series, Hot Dogs and Handshakes. What went in the idea of making that a name?
So the name is it's an old wrestling joke. When you do a show and it's usually kind of a crappier, kind of smaller indie show, the joke is often that you're not really getting paid, or you're getting paid so little that your payout is a hot dog from the concession stand and a handshake from the promoter. So the joke will be, oh yeah, how'd you do tonight? Oh, I got a hot dog and a handshake. So I jokingly named the vlog that. I haven't had a new episode in a really long time, not because of COVID. I actually stopped about a year before COVID, just because I was very busy. The amount of getting around we were doing. We had a really, really busy 2019. Me and the various people who've appeared on that vlog, who all sort of travel together. Yeah, I wasn't gonna have time to be editing the clips together, and it also, a lot of it was kind of, we were hitting the loop and doing a lot of the same shows over and over, and I don't really know how interesting that is. So instead, we took 2019 to mostly try to go do other stuff and go different places, which in retrospect would have been great for the vlog. But,
I mean, you went to Texas. You said you went to New Orleans. Yep. You went to Chicago for freelance. Am I correct?
Yep. Yeah, that was great. What an atmosphere! Great locker room. The two guys that Rip and I worked with, they were great. They're younger and newer, but man, super athletic, really impressive stuff. And they were just a delight. And we just had a really good time. We drove out with the Sea Stars, who are essentially, they're like my kid sisters. They're the kid sisters I never wanted. And so we drove out with them, but they actually flew back the next day because they had Beyond. So they got flown back for Beyond, and we drove back in the rental. And but we had kind of planned. We knew we were driving back, and we knew the area we were going through. So partway through, when we were in Indiana, we took a little detour off, and we went to the International Monster Truck Hall of Fame and Museum, where they have a bunch of old monster trucks from like when I was a kid parked there, and you can go in and look at them and stuff. So that was like that's like the one like fun non-wrestling nerd thing that Rip and I have ever done. Everything else we've ever done has just been getting to shows. But that day we took a little side trip.
Now, it was there and then it's gone.
That happens with me because I talk a lot.
I mean, hey, it's good. It's good. I like interviewing people that talk and are just like, so what got you into wrestling? Well, I thought it was cool. And yeah, next question. That's pretty much I've gotten some of those before.
Yep.
How many times have you gotten hit in the face or somewhere on the body by a rips belt kind of thing?
Yeah,
I forget what
it's
it's called.
strap, the big leather strap.
Yeah, how many times have you got hit?
In front of an audience, none.
Wow.
I'm pretty quick, trying to dodge it, and usually he's aiming for the ref, Will Dogen. That's usually his target. So I'm lucky. I just stay away from Dogen and I'm good. But as far as backstage, Rip and I bicker and argue constantly, and whenever he's had enough, he just starts swinging the thing. It doesn't happen often, but boy, when it does.
Nice. So in your basement, I don't know how you come up with all this stuff, but I swear I've seen a picture in like the corner. It has all the written like stuff to do. Am I correct?
Yep.
What made you do that, and how long did it take? Because I'm interested on that. This is like the boring side that I want to know, but
so a lot of it came from experience. When I first started actually working out regularly, I lifted a little bit in high school, but not enough, not nearly enough. And my diet was, more or less the real problem. So I had a basic working knowledge of weightlifting and bodybuilding, but never really applied it. And then when I was in California and losing the weight, I wasn't really worried so much about lifting. I was much more worried about cardio and diet. That was the main thing for me. So that was why I was able to get by with very little equipment. When I moved back, I started the shoot job that I have now. I work at a college because, I live in Western Mass, so of course I do. But I work at a college and they have a great gym, and I'm gonna probably give away where I work. It is a women's college that I work at, which means a lot of the weights and parts of the gym that I'm using aren't really being used the same way or as often. It's the athletes at that school have a different focus. For them it is much more cardio. They have a very active crew team, so it's a lot of using the row machines. But as far as free weights go, I typically, even right after work, which is, that's the busiest time, everyone just got off and they can go use the gym. I kind of had free run of whatever I wanted. So I started really actively putting together all the information I had. I'd read a lot of different books. Triple H had his workout book. That was kind of helpful. But Arnold Schwarzenegger's The Education of a Bodybuilder. It's a short read, real basic, but the second half of it is great. He lays out two basic programs. One is like, I'm just getting started, I have no equipment. And the other is, I've got a gym and I'm trying to refine what I'm doing. So kind of from what I'd learned in all those things, I was able to put together a pretty good routine there where I was doing 2 body parts a day. I would typically do triceps and chest together. I would do bicep and back together, and I would do legs and shoulders on the same day, and then abs wherever I could fit it in, because you can work those out every single day and they never get tired. So that was how I was doing it then, because I would often only be able to work out Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, because Friday, the second I was out of work, sometimes even before, I'd be on the road on my way to a show. So I had 4 days to get my workouts in, so I had to split it that way. Now with COVID, I've got 7 days a week, man, and sometimes I do 2 workouts in a day because I've got the time and I've got the freedom and the space. So now I've kind of split it out where I have specific workouts that are just one body part at a time. So I was able to list out like, all right, here's the exercises that give me the best results on triceps. Here's the stuff that I can do on shoulders with the equipment I have, all those kinds of things. And having less equipment is actually kind of nice. The limitation means that you're not being tempted and going, oh, I should go work on that today. I should go do that. No, this is what I can do. So I'd better make it count.
Yeah.
And as a result, I've had to pick up a few exercises that I typically didn't do previously. Lunges on leg day were a real problem for me for a few reasons, mostly physiological reasons, right? And again, like you said, this is the boring stuff. Um,
You
I
lost me after that big word.
it
Physiology.
means it
I'm
means it
just kidding.
means things with your physical body, right? So I actually have one leg longer than the other. Most people wouldn't know. It's very slight. It's maybe a half inch difference, but that's a big difference to you. To someone else, no one notices, but I notice. And so as a result, doing any kind of leg exercise tilts your pelvis a little, which curves your spine a little, and you're putting a lot of pressure in really dangerous ways. So you have to work to overcome that. So things like lunges, where it's one leg and then the other, really complicated. Also, a lingering long issue from an injury from a cage match, my loser leaves town match when I left California. I have a bunion. It's essentially a joint issue with the big toe in one foot, where instead of being nice and straight like this, it's crooked because there's a
Oh.
tendon that just doesn't exist there anymore. So doing anything that puts you up on your toes is not only painful but dangerous because you don't have the dexterity there to really put your weight on it. So something like lunges was actually pretty dangerous and difficult. So the first few times I was doing them down here, I do walking lunges back and forth. I'm actually in front of my green screen. I go right by here and right back doing those. And the first few times, it was really like lightweight in my hands, really touch and go, having to think about it. And now I've gotten much better at it, and I know how to do the movement. And yeah, so that's how to circle it back to your question. That's how I got my list of my exercises, which I was just spending some time refining today. I'm going to rewrite those and put those up. That list has been there pretty much since the onset of COVID. And in that time since then, I got a bench and I got an easy curl bar and I got all these extra things that give me different stuff I can do. So there are days when I'm down here and I'm like, boy, I'm just about done with my workout. And then I look and I see the gymnastics rings that are mounted there. I go, oh, damn it. I forgot like three things. And then I'm still down here for another 20 minutes. So yeah, so I'm actually working on refining that list now. It's going to look less crazy because I'm actually going to print it rather than scrawl it like a maniac with a red marker.
I mean, you're in a dungeon. What are you gonna do? I didn't know
It's
that dungeons have 3D printers.
it's true. It doesn't have to be fancy, but for sheer legibility, there've definitely been days when I'm like, because I don't wear my glasses when I work out, and my vision's not that bad, but it's enough where if I'm across a dimly lit basement from a list, I'm going, what am I doing next? So just trying to make it a little easier on myself.
You know, I got a merch idea for you. Well, it's not really merch, but have people bring a tape measure. They go to the merch table where you're at each intermission or during the show, and then they're like, take off the boot. And they can measure your feet out. $5 a thing.
Yeah.
That's an idea right there.
If they can guess which one's the longer leg.
Yeah.
The problem there is that they've got a 50-50 chance. I gotta finagle that a little and make it easier for me.
Well, they still have to pay. So like this.
Oh, I see. They pay to guess. They don't win anything either way. Got it.
Yeah. They win a hot dog and a handshake. Bring a hot dog maker. That's the prize.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah. Yeah, look, I've seen wrestlers bring like 2 suitcases with them. I can't imagine them bringing a hot dog maker. So mid-match, you yell over to like the announcer. Can you check if they're cooked yet?
Don't let those buns burn. Actually, when I was in California, there was a company that I worked for very regularly called Devil Mountain Wrestling. They don't exist anymore. You know, they've done the thing that a lot of indie companies do, where they change names and owners over and over. Now, the closest iteration to them I can think of is a company called East Bay Pro, where I was actually a trainer there for a while. But when they were Devil Mountain Wrestling, they went through this weird streak where for a few months they had a battle royal on every single show. And I just, by the fourth or fifth one, I just really didn't want to do it. And they were like, oh, well, we need guys. Can you go in? And I was like, sure. The second the bell rang, I grabbed someone's hand, put it on the back of my head, and said, throw me out. They chucked me out. I walked straight over to the hot dog stand. I got 2 hot dogs, and then I went and stood at the edge of the ring eating them, mocking the other guys, going, I don't see why you're in there. They got hot dogs there. and you know, just messing with the guys. After that, they didn't ask me to do the battle royals anymore.
Wow, you really showed them.
Yeah, I mean, you know, sometimes you need a hot dog.
Now, you've done promos with I think when you did the promos with the action figures, he was known as Tomahawk.
He was at the time, yeah.
Where did you guys get the figures created? I know they're customs, obviously.
They were actually made for us by a fan in New Brunswick, Canada.
Wow.
This kid, I'd been up there maybe twice, and Rip had been up there for a year. He'd been going up there. And on my third visit, this very kind of shy, unassuming kid kind of approached me and goes, hey, I made you a figure. And he showed it to me, and I was like, "This is great! Look at this!" I was very impressed. I thought that was so cool. And then he was like, "Yeah, you can keep it." And I was like, "I can keep it." And I told him, I'm going to see to it this gets in a video. This figure is going to be in a video on my YouTube. And he goes, "Oh, cool." And then I saw the Tomahawk one that had feathers on it and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And he and I were just like, this is perfect. We have to use these somewhere. And then we had a match coming up for NCW, and JC, who runs NCW, is great. He just lets us do whatever we want. Mm-hmm. And so that was the video we made. We didn't even ask permission to do that kind of video. We just made it and sent it to him. We go, here you go.
You know, it's funny because one of them isn't like, because you're controlling Tomahawk and he's controlling you, right? Didn't he call you like we can swear on this. Didn't he call you a bitch?
He did. He did. Yeah. So when I was doing his voice, I did it all high pitched, and he got really offended. I don't know. Seemed funny to me.
It was. To me, it was. One thing that, before we run out of time, is you said you took a detour on the way back from Chicago and went to the Monster Truck Museum in Indiana. What is with monster trucks and you? Because you post them on your story. And
yeah, so my fascination with monster trucks comes from when I was a really little kid. You know, there's a show, you can still watch it on Amazon Prime. It's up there. It was a special at the time. It was the first ever side-by-side monster truck races. And when you watch it and you see how old it is, it'll tell you just how old I am. I was like 2 or 3 when I saw this at a babysitter's house. It's a special called Return of the Monster Trucks. It was at the Louisiana Superdome. And I just, you know, as a little kid, I was like 2 or 3. It was the greatest thing I'd ever seen. And, you know, to this day, that's sort of like the era of monster trucks that I really like, is the stuff you don't see anymore. Now all of them are made in the same shop. They're all identical once you take their fiberglass shell off. You know, basically the Gravedigger Company owns all of monster trucks now. But I liked it back when it was a little more kind of bizarre outlaw. Like it was all these Franken trucks that were built by some hick in the middle of nowhere under a tree behind his farm. Didn't know what he was doing. You know, the things caught fire all the time. They'd roll over and it would be horrific because there were no safety things put into them. I think there was so much more character to it. It was really interesting. So that's when you see them on my story, those are the toys that were made a year after I was born. Those were made for that little VHS special that you can watch on Amazon Prime still. So it's toys from that show. And I had those when I was real little. And they were my favorites. They were my favorite toys in the whole world. And of course, you know, they're long gone. Who knows what happened to them? You know, I'm in my mid 30s. They could be anywhere. So I started maybe 2 or 3 years ago, just kind of glancing on eBay, and I would just look at them and kind of fantasize like one day I'm gonna buy a couple of these, and they're not even that expensive. They're not that expensive. It's just I'm cheap. And this year for my birthday, my wife surprised me with the play set that was sold for them, which I never had as a kid. I never had that. She found that on like a Facebook sale or something. And when she gave it to me, I was like, "Oh, this is amazing!" And she goes, "Yeah, if you open it, because it opens and it's like a storage thing." She goes, "I guess they gave me like a truck with it or something." And I was like, "Really?" And I opened it, and it had the pulling sled, which I never had as a kid, but always wanted. And then it also had two other trucks, USA One and Bigfoot. And I was like, "They didn't just give you a truck; they gave you the trucks. Like these are the ones to have."
There's the kid in you that came out.
Yeah, yeah. And so then she also gave me another one, the orange van that I sometimes supposed to roll in thunder. That she had got that one too. And so I ordered a couple more that same day because I was like, these are the ones that I just kind of have to have. So now those are all on a shelf I built and put up in a room upstairs. The only toys I really currently have on display in the house, but one day I'll build proper displays for all my goofy toys.
I mean, I got to give you props. You built a resistant band shelf. You built a weight tree, which that's pretty awesome. So I give you props for that. Good job.
Well, with COVID going on, I've got the time. So
yeah. What else are you gonna do?
Exactly.
We are over the time limit. I mean, I don't have a time limit. It's not like it's gonna tell me to shut up. But I don't know if you have a couple more minutes.
Sure. Yeah. I got a couple minutes.
You do Delmy Exo Leg Day.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
So again, one of the kid sisters I never asked for. Delmy and I are pretty close, and she started kind of harassing me in my Instagram messages when she was like, "You don't do enough leg days. You only do one leg day a week. You should do more leg days. You should do this. Why aren't you doing that?" And just kind of getting on me. And for a while, I was like, "Well, shut up. Leave me alone," and just kind of ignoring it. And then finally I was like, you know what? I'm just going to start doing them because again, I've got 7 days to fill. Having a second leg day is not totally unreasonable. So I just started doing them, and it was actually kind of challenging because in particular the hip thrusts, which is you'll see a lot of different fitness people on Instagram do. It's kind of an in vogue movement right now. It's very popular. I only had a barbell with no kind of cushioning or padding on it. And man, I'm a big dude, so it takes a lot of weight for me to feel resistance doing that kind of movement. Having that much weight kind of pushing down straight on a bar on your hips, I always saw girls at the gym with like a foam thing on it, and I always thought like, yeah, okay, I bet that's necessary. That thing hurts. So yeah, so I actually I got a hold of my parents who don't live too far from here, and I asked them, "Do you have any of the old pool noodles we used to have when we were kids?" And my dad says, "Yeah, I think there's one in the garage." So I went over and snagged one and bored a hole through the middle of it with a drill, and now I stick that on the barbell when I'm going to use it, and it's much better. It's a big improvement.
Is there anything that you'd like to ask me?
Now are you in you're in wrestling, right? You're training is as I understand it. Is that what I've heard?
I don't know where you heard that, but I like that. I went to an open house at Test of Strength in Connecticut. Okay. I want to continue training, but just I don't have the time for it. And like I know I don't want to have that as an excuse, but it's just my life is busy, and it's definitely something that I want to do. It's just not right now.
There's a big difference between an excuse and a reason. And I love wrestling. I said it before, but it can't always be the priority for everyone all the time.
Yeah.
And you're how old?
16.
Okay, so you're still in high school.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Yeah, you got all the time in the world. And right now your education is definitely the most important thing. I didn't start training till I was done with college.
Wow.
and I don't regret it because apart from a brief struggle in a recession, I've never had trouble having a good job, and that's really helpful in indie wrestling because it's not always a huge money maker, even if you are traveling all over and working all the time.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, right now focusing on education is what's important, but there's a lot of groundwork you can lay in the meantime, and certainly doing this, talking to wrestlers, learning everything you can is a good step. And other than that, I would say my biggest regret was that I didn't start weight training and stuff earlier, and really focusing on it and getting my diet right. I think that would have been a huge help to me.
Cool.
So yeah, I mean, if you have the time to sneak any of that in amongst your studies, that's probably the best thing you can do.
Mhm. Two things. Who has got the better home gym? Your kid sister that you never wanted, Delmy, and kind of Ashley. I don't know. Or you.
Oh, well, I believe that I have more actual weight here to lift than they do. From just talking with Rip, because he knows their gym pretty well. He helped them set some of it up.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but they also have a power rack, like a full size power rack set up, so they can do pull downs, and they can have a proper squat rack set up. When I have to squat, I have to pull it off my weight bench, lift it up over my head, and then I can. It's very inconvenient, and at heavier weights, it can be quite dangerous. So, and also they're not in a basement. You can't see it on the videos I post, but I have a very long fluorescent light set up over there that if I do a shoulder press in just the wrong spot, I'm just going to have glass everywhere. So there are definitely some drawbacks to my particular spot, but I think I have heavier weights, and I think maybe that's what really matters.
Hey, heavier weights, big muscles.
That's right.
Is there anything that you would like to promote on this interview?
Yeah, I think anyone who's watched this far, first of all, wow, nice, good work. But yeah, anyone who's watched this far and thinks like, wow, this Perry dude's all right, they should go follow me on Instagram or Twitter at Perry Von Vicious. I've had those forever. I was on Twitter back when Twitter was still a baby. And they can also go to prowrestlingtees.com/Perry Von Vicious, where they can get my brand new shirt, which I don't even have yet. I know people who have it. I don't have it yet. Or they can get the tag team shirt with me and Rip Bison. That's up there as well. And I have older designs that aren't really super relevant to my character anymore, but I may throw them up as well if there's demand. So yeah, the Pro Wrestling Tees, and follow me on Twitter and Instagram.
Well, man. Yeah. Well, man. I appreciate your time today. Thank you for doing this interview. Ladies and gentlemen, like you said, if you made it this far, good job. Please remember to like, comment, share, subscribe. Trying to get to 150. So road to 150. Follow him on his social medias and watch his home workout videos. Post great stuff. And yeah, see you in the next interview. Thanks, everyone.